Oh, hey. Alright, listen. I've been fucking way too many bitches. Too many bitches, okay? More bitches than you could ever have, okay? And I just couldn't be bothered because of that. Listen, when you have bitches, what am I doing? Fucking. Hi guys, my name is Milan and welcome to the Tokulook Kamen Rider X. Why am I calling it the Tokulook? Well, on the day of this recording, I talked to my friends and it was a bit of a dodgy discussion. Not gonna lie, it was a funny discussion, but the main point of why I'm saying this is because they have gave me some valid criticism, and obviously I appreciate it because none of you comment on my videos. But anyway, they have talked to me about it, and they said that my videos aren't really reviews, which I can understand now. And they said that they're more just retro perspectives, which I don't like the word because it reminds. I don't know. I just couldn't be bothered. So also, I don't know why I just brought Coke. But anyway, I'm calling it Tokulook. So I hope you appreciate that. And the sneak peek, it was a temporary name to be honest. So I just renamed it to Tokudart. Because when you dart at something, you basically take a quick look at it, okay? I hope I won't be burping through this whole video. I also had to delete some videos. So obviously, since I haven't released a video, my upload schedule is obviously really beautiful, and I decided as a Christmas gift, my Christmas gifts are two. One is that I'll review all the gifts that I've made throughout the November to December because I forgot to do it during December time, and I'll do that after this recording, to be honest. And then I'm gonna start editing because I want this to come out either on New Year, or New Year's Eve, whatever. But anyway, I'll make a special video, so that's the second gift. So I have some of these circle tours. I'll make a henshin for all of the riders that I'm gonna list. So Decade, Cronus, 01, and I might do all of his forms minus 02, and his Flaming Tiger, Breaking Mammoth. Okay. Tauza, Buster, and Slash. And I do have Bremen no Rockabando, so I might go a bit crazy. And that's it. Okay, so let's drink, let's burp, and let's begin this video. I don't like Coke. Well, it's okay. Sparkling water is obviously the best, and yeah. Kamen Rider X! In 仮面に黒マフラー額に輝く Episode 1 XXX Rider is born. Take it as you will. Yep. So we see a man that comes out of the ocean, and obviously I'm thinking ahead of you guys because you just be thinking, oh, some guy just came out of the water. Okay. Well, I'm thinking ahead of you. I'm thinking something like, why is he dry when he comes out of the water? What the fuck? But anyway, he talks to the commander of God, and God stands for the government of darkness. For people wondering. And the commander takes up on different forms, and what I mean by that is that when he, transmits some messages to these cyborgs, he disguises himself as different whatever. So this could be God Commander. This lamp that is projecting my face could be the God Commander. My arse could be the God Commander. Who knows? Where? That's all you need to know. And he basically tells him to cause havoc, and he turns into Neptune. And just another thing, so the cyborgs take upon the forms of Historical figures, I don't really know if they're supposed to be all evil because when I did some research on some of them, I think some of them are supposed to be good. So just historical figures, let's just say that. Like, they did a proto ghost, and that's really it. So after that, we see a boat, and on this boat comes out Jin Keisuke, our main character, Kamen Rider X. And he comes from a marine university from Okinawa. He comes back to Tokyo in search for a part-time job. Now, when he does that, the first thing that happens, obviously, is he gets invaded by God Mooks, which are, I don't know what they're called, so excuse me for that. But I'll talk about what they look like and how I feel about them in a minute. Anyway, he gets invaded and nearly gets killed off by Neptune, actually. Neptune has some weird stuff where if he touches the white stuff on water, he'll turn into a skeleton, so be aware of that, guys, be aware. But anyway, he nearly dies, but he survives. He manages to escape, okay, and he gets to this uni. I don't know if it's Johan, Johoku, whatever. Listen, am I gonna cut out every time I burp? But anyway, he goes to this uni and he dresses up, obviously, and he meets up with his long-lasting friend Ryoko, who is an assistant of his father's, and he asks where his dad is. So they go to this underground base, and here's the thing, okay? So you haven't seen your father in I don't know how long it's been for Keisuke, okay? But you haven't seen your dad or any relative for a long time. What would you expect? So I'd expect, since he's a scientist, I don't know, maybe he'd be on his desk, write some lovely stuff, just be like, cool, cool. Or I don't know, maybe have a bit of a lab where pour some stuff into another, be a scientist. No. When he comes in, he sees an empty room, but it's not empty because his dad attacks him with a wooden sword. And when the dumbest thing about this, right, is in the middle of the fight, so Keisuke defends himself, and then his dad is like, "Listen, you could have done better than that." No, listen. I would have gotten myself disowned by that point. I'm not getting myself involved in this. But anyway, this starts off the whole relationship with his father, where Keisuke actually doesn't want to be a scientist. So his dad wants him to be a scientist, but he wants to be a sailor. He later says to Ryoko that he wants to sail across the seven continents and be a lovely sailor. And then Ryoko tells him, so they go on a date night, and she tells him that his dad has been writing him a lot of letters, but then he always scraps them because he's, I don't know, he seems a bit pointless or anything, and he feels a bit lonely, okay, especially during these times. I don't know what's been happening. Well, God, but we don't know that. And Keisuke thinks about it a bit, and then the next day, so actually before that, because it'll make sense why I'm saying the stuff after. So he gets a vest from his dad because he knows that he's been invaded by God. Okay, but anyway, the next day, his dad is trying to get some water because a ship, so the same ship that he came from, Keisuke, was destroyed by God. Okay, and he gets some analysis, I guess, but he nearly falls over. Keisuke saves him. Keisuke saves him, and when he does, he obviously grabs the water to help him out, and he's like, "Listen, I'm not helping you out, but I just want to be there for you or something." And you expect your dad to be like, "Okay, cool." No, Keisuke stands up, and his dad points a gun at him and starts shooting him. Ryoko comes to his dad, and they're giving high fives to each other at this point, and they're just laughing it off. Why? Obviously we get revealed that the vest is bulletproof and it like helps him across, like it works against like explosions, okay, but why do you have to shoot your kid? What if the vest doesn't work? You killed your kid. Listen, but here we go to the fucked up bit. So Keisuke is asleep and Neptune invades his dad's base and he kills him because he's been trying to find some data from his dad. On the other side, Keisuke gets invaded by Ryoko, which is very unfortunate because we are not expecting this. We expect Ryoko to be a good ally. Keisuke then goes to find his father, seeing him lie on the rocks near the ocean. Then the mooks come in and they start shooting him and kill Keisuke as a result. But his father manages to grab him. Listen, his dad must be some next level Hulk. But listen, he gets him, he takes him back to his base, and the narrator says this: as his final love to his son, he converts him into a cyborg. Cool. Then Keisuke awakens and we see that he's on a boat and he has a machine next to him and it transmits a message from his dad saying, "I expected this to happen. You're a Kaizog. Cool. You're gonna go to this Jin station, which is actually the prototype for the Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue base underwater. So have that. I'm also now a computer, and if you need anything, then you can come back to me. And also, my body is in there, but I'm just gonna destroy it right in front of you. So, yeah, okay, bye." And that's what happened. And he also gets his cruiser, he gets his motorbike, and he also gets his Rydell, which is his henshin belt. And on the right side, he has his Perfector, and on the left side he has his Red Aizer. Okay, and yeah, the rest of the episode is just henshins, defeats Neptune, and then we see what we think is Ryoko, but it's actually Kiriko, and that's the end of the episode. So before I start talking about his suit and everything, let's talk about episode 2. So the main gist of it is that there's some monster and he makes the people turn crazy when he plays some instrument, but then everybody thinks that it's this kid that plays a flute, but then we find out that the kid, so he uses that flute because I think a family relative of them died, and as a remembrance obviously he plays it. But that's the main gist of the story. But the funny bit is Keisuke feels really upset. So he goes back to the gin station because his dad told him if he ever has any worries, he can come back to the fucking base. But here's a skit. Otosan, what do I do? This kid, he called me a robot, and am I not a human? Am I not supposed to feel like a human? What do I do? Suck your mum, you're a fucking pussy, I'm also destroying the base, okay, bye. And he just tells him to fuck off. What the fuck? Some funny shit, you know. Can I also say, so additionally to that, so when his dad like explodes in the first episode, so you know, Keisuke's thinking like, "Dad, I really respect what you've done." As a throwback, what do we get? His dad. So they do some karate or something, and we see you and Keisuke try to fight his dad. His dad beats him up, and then you see him exploding, his fucking body exploding, and him just laughing off in the background. I'm not taking it seriously. I'm laughing my ass off during this situation. This is dumb. I don't know. This is the dumbest shit I've seen. But that's why I love this show. And that's everything for episode 1 and 2. So let's talk about the suits. Just initial impressions. And okay, actually, let me just explain God. So they're an evil organization, and they turn humans into cyborgs, and they want to take over Japan. Let's move on. So X's suit looks really good actually. First impressions was It's because of the two. It's a two-piece, right? And you don't really notice it with Ichigo and Nigo because their suit is black, like the main thing. So you don't notice it because it blends in together. And with V3, I didn't notice it as much because I liked his suit design anyway. But with X, it just threw me off. I think it's the gray that threw me off, that because it was more visible then. So that threw me off. But otherwise, I really like it actually. I like the fact that it's different yet similar at the same time. You know, it's different because he's not a reincarnation. He's not the next thing after V3. He is its own thing, and I also like how it's similar at the same time. He's a Kamen Rider, so I like that. Next, I do want to talk about the mooks. So again, I forgot the names here. The mooks look really good for this show. Like, I'm surprised. First impressions, I thought this was a low budget show. But then I was thinking to myself, I just came from Destron and a Shocker Combatants, and they look horrible. Well, you know what I mean. This looks amazing. They look like French scuba divers, but I can't say French because that would be insulting to the French people. So I'm gonna say B-Tech Lupin Ranger Scuba Divers. I think you'll like that name. But anyway, I like the design. I think it's cool. I like the capes. I mean, I like capes in general. Um, and they look unique. I also like how, sometimes when there is a new monster, they sometimes change their outfit just a little bit, but they still look similar with the scuba diving gear. So yeah, I like it. So there you go. That's my opinion. If they make an SH figure arts, I'll take it. They might have done. Listen, I'm down any day, any day. So let's talk about some. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about the whole show because why? And it's shorter, so I can make a shorter review. So then you don't have to complain that it's 1 hour. So let's talk about some notable things. Episode 3. So what I'm going to try doing is because when I edit my videos, I see it as a small green, I see it as a small rectangle. And so because of that, Dumb Milan doesn't see how big videos are. So I'm just gonna make them smaller and actually see what the video looks like in normal. So here's episode 3.
思い出せない。
It was just dumb. I just found it funny. It was just so dumb. And then here's another part. And I like this scene because it's just dumb. Like when it's just a sound effect when he throws the tire on X. Just funny. If anyone wants a gif of it, I'll make it. No balls. And yeah, and then episode 5, we get Tachibana back, which I'm very happy about. And what basically happens in that episode is just simply these kids go on this bus to go to nursery or something, but when they go through this tunnel, they disappear. And Tachibana is trying to investigate that. He then meets up with Keisuke, but he doesn't believe him because he thinks it's weird. Even though he should get used to the fact that if the people are a bit weird, they're probably cyborgs and they're probably good people, unless they're Destron or the Shocker or the God fucking whatever. Listen, he then gets manipulated by Ryoko, but then Keisuke comes in and he's like, nope, she's a bitch. So then they become besties, and then Tachibana comes back, obviously. Okay, let me talk about episode 7. Listen, I know it's shorter and I know it's more fucked up, but I still didn't expect this, okay? So in episode 7, there's this fucking monster, Icarus, and he makes these kids commit suicide by jumping off a lovely building or cliff or whatever. He makes them basically think that they can fly with this white robe. So fucked. It was so fucked. Like throughout the episode, you see these kids just jump off and just fall on the ground and die. Obviously, you don't see any blood, but you still see them die. Like that's fucked. That's fucked, man. And then the funniest part. So the last girl that was supposed to be, committing suicide. So she has a crush on the actual Icarus monster because he has a human form. And when the Icarus guy goes to talk to the commander, he goes to a shrine, rings on the bell, the shrine opens, and what do we see the god commander be presented as? Some female model that you see in a fucking clothes shop, but she's naked. Just what I needed. 18 plus. Anyway, that's episode 7. It's just giving you the fact that these shows are a bit, on the edgy counter, okay? And just it makes you think like More children have watched these shows than now. So keep that in mind, okay? Anyway, in episode 8, we go even more fucked up. So, well, shitty basically. So we see throughout the show that, well, throughout these 8 episodes, that Kiriko, we find out is actually the twin sister of Ryoko, wants to help out Keisuke, but she can't really tell him what Ryoko is doing. They're on some excavation thing. I don't remember the whole story, but what I do remember is that Kiriko gets killed. Okay, the monster shoots some arrows or something, or I don't know if it's but she gets arrows and she gets killed. And she tells him that she should believe in Ryoko. Then later, something sends some arrows, and these guys think that it's Ryoko. But Keisuke says this comes from another direction opposite to Ryoko, so it can't be her. He follows after Ryoko and then finds out that she's been a double agent the whole time. That she's been working with her dad the entire time to, basically defeat God or whatever. But because now she became a traitor, she, had to get killed off. And and she is a cyborg now, so every single cyborg has a self-destructing device on their hand, and she tells them to, last goodbye, and she dies. She self-destructs, which I didn't expect. I'll say this. After she died, doesn't really mean anything to any of the cast, because we don't really, like, Keisuke doesn't care at that point. Like, well, he feels upset, but after that, we never get it mentioned again. So that whole mystery of what Ryoko is doing felt kind of pointless, okay? And it's not. I don't want to say it's a negative, because it was obviously sad to see it go. I didn't expect this to happen, but I do want to point out the fact that it was just odd. It didn't really affect our characters that much after that. So yeah, even his father's death didn't affect him that much, to be honest, because he had Tachibana on him, and Tachibana like corrected him and helped him out throughout his time as X Rider. His dad and fiance and his fiance's sister didn't do anything, to be honest. So I guess that's a negative about this show, that these character deaths didn't really impact as much. So yeah. But anyway, we get to episode 9. So in a previous episode, we see a mysterious figure. Not gonna lie, when I first saw it, I thought it was what's his name, the last commander from V3, thingy, Martial Armor. I was like, oh fuck, why is he coming back? But no, it's someone else. So episode 9 is called X Riders Finisher Training, and at the start of the episode, we see a strange guy with a white suit coming out at Achilles, I think his name is, and he basically comes in, and it looks like a high quality fight scene. It reminds me of one of these. And anyway, he fights them technically, and he tells them that they're weak and their ideas are dumb, and they need to get their heads together. And we also find out in this episode that, Keisuke is doing racing just like every rider has to this point. And we go to Tachibana, and he is thinking inside of his head that he wants someone to go to the Grand Prix, one of his riders. But obviously, because of the fact that, Hongo, Hayato, and fucking Shiro, they all are Kamen Riders and they are protecting the world, it's impossible. So he at least believes that one day he'll be able to have a rider win a Grand Prix, or at least attend to it. Which is really interesting. It gave me a different insight on Tachibana, and how he just, he wants to be this leader, but he also wants to fulfill his own dream, which is to have one, to be participating in a Grand Prix. So that's cool. And then, so the whole story is that basically Achilles has this dream fucking virus, and he basically wants to take all of these people and convert them into cyborgs and then make them into slaves. And he takes this village, and one of the girls escapes, but they're trying to get her back, and that's when we get the introduction to Apollo Geist. Okay, and let's just talk about his look. I'll obviously talk about what I think of him overall later, but I do want to say I really do like Apollo Geist. I prefer him more than the other guy that we will have later. So let's talk about his look. And obviously, this is a two-parter, and we see that in the actual story of Achilles, his weakness is his heel, which is why there's a term called Achilles heel. But I never knew that until today. Well, when I watched it, so cool. But anyway, Apollo Geist's look looks really like Romany, like from the Roman times. You know when they were wearing like all the not actually Romany, Greek. Apologies. You know when they're wearing all these robes and feeling fucking goddish as fuck. Yeah, I just really like that. I just like his look, and my man has a machine gun, and I just like his all aesthetic. I think it's cool. It's different. But I mainly like how he's human, like he has a human form, and that makes his interactions with Keisuke more interesting, rather than our other commander, who is just sitting like a lot of Sentai commanders. Not gonna lie, but anyway, we're gonna talk about episode 14 because this is where Apollo Geist dies. Well, once. So there's a scientist and he revives an ancient bug, okay? But then Apollo Geist is like, well, thanks, mate. I'm gonna test this on you, just because you made it, obviously. And what we see is that this bug actually makes these people turn into killing machines. Mad, okay? Then we see that one of these bugs, these bugs are then put into Tachibana's coffee shop. Also, build background. Tachibana, instead of a racing club, now has a coffee shop. Cool. Anyway, they put one of these bugs into Tachibana's coffee shop, turning everybody into a killing machine, and they accuse Tachibana of being a murderer. So they put him into police. Apologies for burping throughout the whole review. But anyway, Tachibana gets sent into what we think is the police, but then we see Apollo Geist, and we get, well, we knew this from the start, but Apollo Geist is from a secret police in God. So what we thought was the police, actually the secret police of God, and basically Keisuke has to basically save Tachibana, and then he saves him, and he destroys all the bugs, and then the only opponent left is Apollo Geist, and he defeats him. And when you think that, okay, it's over, Apollo Geist is dead, well, he says, oh, you were a worthy opponent, I'm on the last handshake. And then they handshake, and the hand is actually gets stuck on him, and he says, "Ha, get fucked." So that, because remember from Ryoko when her hand exploded, so same thing, and he's like, "You're gonna die with me," but then obviously the Keisuke survives, and that's the end of that. Then we get into episode 15 and 16, so this is a two-parter, but the reason why I'm talking about it is because Apollo Geist gets revived. So how does this come by? So we also get introduced to two characters, which are kind of pointless, but anyway. So we start off by our Dr. Kawakami, so we just find this random doctor, and he gets told to attend the Palace of Apollon the next day, so he'll get transported there. Then, so our monster of the week goes to Johoku University. So it looks like it's not Jonan, it's Johoku. I don't know why I said in the first review. Listen, I'm dead inside. Anyway, when the monster goes to Johoku University, he bumps into this girl who is named Mako, and they basically swap their boxes by accident. So Mako had basically all these fruits and all this food because her friend Chico were basically having some, just some food night thing, whatever. Picnic, let's do it. They were gonna have a picnic, but that didn't go to plan, did it? So, and then when Chico opens the box, she sees a doll, which is actually just another commander's messages, and it says, Dr. Miyamoto, if you want to, well, you're gonna get transported to the palace tomorrow. Okay, boom, okay, bye. The monster obviously doesn't like that. He goes after the girls. Keisuke saves them, and then we see that Keisuke then he disguises himself as Dr. Miyamoto. They go to the palace, and here's a quick thing that is actually interesting about the show. So they go to the palace, cool. But then what happens is that um, they go into the whole thing, and the monster shows up the whole palace. Okay. Now when he shows the palace, he shows off like the combat room where they train. Okay. When he shows a room called GD, it's not God. There's no God. The monster actually just says GD. The Japanese community doesn't even know what GD is. So, has Toei ever said anything about this? There's a quick little fact that you should know. Like, no one knows what GD is. Actually, I know what it is. Come in here. Got it. Fucking, and then the monster tells Dr. Miyamoto to look at one of the rooms, but then looks at it and he sees the real Dr. Miyamoto because it was actually obviously Keisuke, and he gets into a trap. Then in the next episode, he gets some battle damage. He gets injured as a result of the fight from the previous episode, but then he manages to sneak into the palace and try to find out what's happening. Now, when that happens, he doesn't see it, but we see it as some as dramatic irony, basically. We see as the audience that Apollo Geist is being revived and upgraded at the same time by Dr. Miyamoto and Dr. Kawasaki. And he gets revived, but then because Keisuke is injured, Apollo Geist is like, "Oh, fuck that, I'm not gonna fight you when you're injured, that's dumb." So he puts him in one of their prisons, and they're doing some plan where they want to overload all electrical currents in Tokyo. Now, they use Tachibana's coffee shop obviously as the main place to do all of that, and Keisuke then gets treated by Dr. Kawasaki, but Keisuke already has healed up by that point, so he escapes and he saves the day, and that's the end of the episode. Let's take a look at his new form. The only difference is that his design is a bit different, and he has now a machine gun. It's like 32 caliber shells or whatever. It's it's really, yeah. He still looks the same, and I still like his design. So yeah. Now some random stuff again. So in episode 18, everyone turns into a Neko. So if you're into that, then make sure to check out episode 18. Oh yeah, okay, episode 19. So a couple gets killed by this monster, and then they use this three-dimensional illusion to basically make them appear everywhere. Okay, and there's this scene where these girls. So this one girl doesn't want to go to the toilet because she's scared. She thinks that the place is haunted. Okay, and the girls are like, okay, we'll go with you. Cool thing, good for them. But when they go there. So the girl knocks on the door to check if anyone is in there. She hears nothing on the other one. She's like, okay, I can go in. I can have a piss. Opens it, runs away. The other one falls on the ground. The last one, she sees a guy hanging on the fucking toilet. Why? Then the group of boys come from like baseball or something, and it's nighttime. One of the boys looks at a tower or something, sees a woman hanging. Why am I seeing this? Why am I seeing this? So yeah, that's really it. Oh yeah, and then the monster, so they're doing some funeral, and the monster just comes out of the casket. I don't know what it's called, because I don't want to be disrespectful, but here's the name, just so I can be respectful. But yeah, that was fucked up too. Episode 21, so Apollo Geist's all-out attack. So in this episode, we see how Apollo Geist trains to be Keisuke, but he feels like his fingers are a bit numb. Okay, they're starting to feel a bit iffy. He goes to Dr. Miyamoto, and Dr. Miyamoto gets actually really excited, and he tells him that his revival was actually supposed to only last for a month. and if he does want to keep on living, then he has to get the perfector from Keisuke. So obviously, Apollo Geist is like, that's actually a clever idea. He kills Dr. Miyamoto. Well, no. Yeah, he does, he does. Um, and he gets told that if he wants to save Chico and Mako, then he has 12 hours to come to the palace. And he gives him the map, obviously, because he doesn't know where it is. But then he gets attacked by revived monsters, and he leaves Achilles alive. And he's like, I'll use you as a means of, as a trap. That doesn't go to plan because Apollo Geist then kidnaps Tachibana as a means of, trapping Keisuke. But then, that whole shtick ends, and Apollo Geist finally does get defeated. He does do the same thing. He's like, I'm gonna get you. You're gonna die with me. But he does die on it himself, and yeah. But at the end of it, the whole palace gets exploded, and we hear a new voice. And his name is King Dark, and he tells him that they'll cross paths soon, and he should expect a very evil Shinamajig fucking thingamajig. There you go. This is where I'm gonna kind of skip over this part of the show because it's a whole arc, and I'm just gonna explain you really quickly what this arc is about. Not just because I want this video to be short, but just because there's no need to explain every single episode, except for one, because I know all of you have been waiting for this. But anyway, this whole arc, so starting from episode 23, because in episode 22, we start getting introduced to the King Dark and his monsters that are fucked up. But anyway, the whole arc is that there's this doctor, this is a scientist, and he makes this device called the RS device. Now, this device is basically able to destroy everything. That's all you need to know. It's a molecular thing. I don't need to explain it. It just destroys everything. And they were this King Dark. So I'll explain you what he looks like. He looks like a. When I first saw him, I thought of like a 40s like Godzilla movie. Not just like a Godzilla, but like a big, big statue moving thing kind of movie. I just voice cracked. You see what I mean? And he does look cool. He does look cool. But he's always just stood like this. I'm just like, why? But anyway, they want to put that inside of him so he can destroy all of Japan. But then the scientist realizes that I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this for evil. If this could be given to the good hands, this could be a wonder weapon for the heavens. So he's like, fuck you. And he splits the blueprint of the RS device into 9 separate pieces. One of them being his daughter, which he puts in a necklace. And we think that, he's going to be here searching for them with us, but he gets killed off. And this is actually a sad scene because we see like, he sent it to 8 people, but where is the 9th one? And we see that it was inside of his daughter's necklace, as I stated before. And the sad bit is when Keisuke tells the daughter, I promise you that I'm going to find the missing pieces. And we see it crying and nodding, and that was really sad actually seeing that. But yeah, from the rest on until episode 33, we have this arc where every single episode is a new monster, and we try to find the rest of the pieces, okay, except for episode 27, because 27 is a one-off, which I'll talk about as well, and the movie obviously. But yeah, that's all you need to know about this arc. I can tell you about some random stuff, but that's all you need to know about this arc, and that's really the end of the show, really. Well, there's 2 more episodes, but that's all you need to know about these 10 episodes. So, cool. Let me talk about these monsters. So, these monsters, they're attacking. So, I told you about the historical figures, then they're infused with, like, animals this time. But the historical figures used. So, in episode 22, we get Genghis Khan Condor. If you don't know who Genghis Khan is, search him up. I'm not telling you anymore. I'll tell you the other monsters that we do get. So we get Ishikawa Goemon. So these types of monsters, I'm like, okay, cool. Goemon was a thief, but you don't think of him as like a bad person. It's kind of like Arsene Lupin, which you actually do get here. Rhino Beetle Lupin. Like, he was a thief, but he was a good thief. You know what I mean? Like, That's where my thought comes into, like, were these historical figures actually good people, or like were they all supposed to be bad people, or did they just mix and match? Because some of these people are actually good people, right? And we get Aunt Capone, which actually that was a good one. Oh yeah, episode 25. That was some nonsense shit. Okay, so there's this old guy, and we see these two kids playing baseball, and accidentally one of the kids hits the window. Okay, fine. The old guy then tells the kids to come in and have like some sweets. They eat the sweets and they fall asleep. You see where I'm going with this? But anyway, the doctor was like a teacher to the scientist guy that I talked about before, and he's like, well, I'm gonna die like in fucking 10 minutes or something, because I have cancer and all this shit. So he goes into his base, like his secret base, and he tells the kids, well, he doesn't tell the kids. He drags the kids onto his like table, and he takes out their shirt, and he uses Alpha Ray to transcribe the blueprints onto their backs. That's nonsense as fuck, bro. That's fucking shit. That's fucking cringe. Episode 26. I need a sip of this. Episode 26. Starfish Hitler. Yeah. I'll tell you the summary of what happened in this episode, okay? There's some famous physicist, Dr. Egawa, and he has a blueprint piece, and he's coming back from America. Cool. And they're wearing like some hippie outfits to like disguise themselves, okay? Starfish Hitler tries to get them, but he fails. And then he tries to torture these fake people that were trying to, mimic Dr. Egawa, and telling them where they actually are. And then, he tries to fight with Keisuke, and we see the mooks. They're dressed up with Nazi suits. I'm not gonna talk about this. I'm sorry, guys. I just can't talk about it. It's just fucked. Yeah, listen, Nazi suits, Starfish Hitler. There was a swastika as well. Just I'll end it there, okay? I don't need to tell you anything more. It was a weird episode. And 27. So in 27, we get a recap episode. First ever recap episode in Rider, where we see this guy. He was supposed to tell like the story of Kamen Rider, but he basically says that, oh no, Riders are basically cunts and the monster's actually good. And then Tachibana's like, are you dumb? He beats him up, sits down, and he's like, I'll tell you the story. I know my stuff, okay? And he tells the story, and we see a familiar figure sit back at the end, and that was kind of interesting because I was actually excited for this guy. Then Keisuke finds out that the guy was actually a fake, and the true guy was actually beaten up, and he wasn't in the backstage. So then, when that guy is revealed, we see that it's actually Neptune, and then Kazami Shiro comes out, and he defeats the monsters with Keisuke, which leads on to the movie. The continuity of this movie is a bit weird. From what I know, it's supposed to take place after episode 27, but Hayato doesn't know of Keisuke until episode 33. It's weird, man. It's weird because in the recap episode, Shiro gets to know fucking Keisuke, okay, but I don't know, it's just weird. Let me talk about the movie. The movie is called Five Riders vs. King Dark. Now, there's not a lot about this movie. I think it's my least favorite movie because there's not a lot happening. Yes, people will tell me like, okay, Milan, a lot of show movies don't have anything happening, but they're funny though. I've said this before. Kamen Rider vs. Ambassador Hell is the funniest movie. This movie is alright. Okay, so basically what happens is Keisuke does some racing practice, then gets ambushed by previous cyborgs. Cool. And then the meme, the sus van, that's where it comes from, because they're trying to escape, and then Keisuke is like, that's a sus man. And then we get comebacks for each rider, including Riderman, but I did say in the last review that he died, so We find out that he was actually in Tahiti, but our mouth be different though. And then they fight the cyborgs and save everyone that was kidnapped. So Mako, Chico, and everyone else, and that's it. Oh, I'll say this though, in the fucking movie when they do a henshin, so all the henshins from Ichigo to Riderman, they're stock from other movies. So cool. Anyway, episode 28. So in this episode, there's this monster called Spider Napoleon, and he's impossible to beat because like he sucks in all the energy from the rider when he does like a finish or something. So they need some mercury power, and Shiro nearly sacrifices himself. Like he takes all the blood out of him to do an operation on Keisuke to give him this mercury power, and he plants it on him, and all it does is he gets a new finisher, which is actually cool. It's called a vacuum hell wheel. It's pretty cool. And then he gets a new transformation. Okay, he does here.
Dai Henshin.
It's really it. And yeah, and then listen, the next starting from the next episode, he has some dodgy hair. He has some dodgy hair, bro. Oh yeah, in episode 31, Uncle Lizard is a nonce. Okay, here's the subs. Fucking noncy, bro. And then King Dark turns to Thanos. Okay, so he's like, I'll do it myself, but he doesn't have the thing. Okay, so anyway, episode 32, I can describe in very simply this clip, and I'll just play that in the background just so that you understand. And then in episode 33, Hayato comes back. Just as a quick thing, he saves Tachibana from being pushed off a cliff, pushed off a bridge, and that was cool. And that's when we lead on to the final two episodes. So, episode 34, a terrible weapon targets the Free Riders, and episode 35, Farewell X Rider. So in episode 34, Keisuke gets the last piece of the blueprint, which makes him have an advantage over God because he has 7 and God has 2. And Dark King is obviously pissed about that, so he tells the last monster, the Tiger Nero, to do something. Keisuke basically fucks up and he was nearly gonna get executed unless Tachibana gives all the blueprints to God. Tachibana does, but then obviously they were still gonna execute Keisuke, so Shiro does save him, and at this point, well, like, fuck. That's the X from me. Then what happens is Keisuke actually implanted a tracking device on one of the mooks. So whilst they're making the artist device, because they know that it will take some time to make the device anyway, they try to get there as fast as they can. Tiger Nero does notice that, the tracking device, and then, awaits the 2 riders. But then Hayato does come and save the day with them, so they were able to defeat Tiger Nero, and they were able to get rid of the fucking artist device and get the blueprint. So now they're at an advantage again. But King Dark then comes out, full glory, big Ultraman style, and says, "You're not having the last laugh. I'm defeating you, motherfuckers." And that's where we go to the last episode. So, and obviously King Dark has revealed himself fully, and he wants to defeat the Riders. We have no idea where Shiro and Hayato is, though. What the fuck? An elderly person begs for our cast to help him because his grandson is ill, okay? But that turns to be a trap by, what's his name? Scorpion Geronimo Jr., which was so he is the son of a previous monster during this arc. There was a monster called Scorpion Geronimo, but now we have Scorpion Geronimo Jr., so just gonna call him Geronimo Jr., but that's all you need to know. Keisuke is asked by Geronimo Jr. to be given the last blueprint piece, otherwise his friends will be killed, obviously. Are we surprised, guys, these days? Then Keisuke pretends to be dead to find King Dark's lair, But King Dark leaves the lair to destroy Japan with his large Ultraman body. Now, since Keisuke is fucking small, with his cruiser, he goes inside his body because he believes that he can defeat him inside. So Keisuke then goes through Takashi's castle, basically, he defeats all these monsters, goes through all these doors to find the main room. Now, in that main room, we find Dr. Noroi, who was actually his dad's best friend. And he does say that he was known as a devilish genius. And he's like, I'm actually King Dark, this is my body, and I'm actually God, the commander. King Geronimo then stabs Keisuke, but Keisuke manages to defeat both Dr. Noroi and Geronimo Jr., which then leads to King Dark basically exploding as a result. And when we think that Keisuke has died, Mako and Chico are crying. Tachibana finds a letter on the table in the cafe, and he basically reads saying something along the lines of Keisuke saying, "Hi, I'm doing well. Thank you for this journey that you have given me. I've now become a different person, and I want to embark on this different journey, and expect me to come back one day." Finn. That is the end of Kamen Rider X. It's an interesting show. Okay, let me talk about the characters first. Characters. Jin Keisuke. He kind of reminds me of every single show rider so far. So he was kind of confident with himself. He knew that he wanted to be a sailor, but then when he became X Rider, he was like, "The fuck do I do? I'm fucking depressed." But then he becomes confident with himself. Obviously, Tachibana, they have these talks every now and then. Because there was this one time where Keisuke lost. Okay, in the Apollo Geist, when he gets introduced, so the reason why it's called he trains for his finishing move is because he fucks up the first time and he has a talk with Tachibana, and Tachibana is like, "Well, you fucked up for the first time. You failed. So now you need to practice to do better." And that was a really nice moment where Keisuke actually, started taking care of himself and becoming a better fighter and defeating, everyone. And that's what I liked about him. But he was also really general. Like, there wasn't. I liked him, but there wasn't enough of him at the same time. So, and again, like, his fiance's sister, and his dad died in a span of 8 episodes, and it didn't really affect him that much. I've said this before. It didn't really affect him that much. And now I don't know how I feel about that. I expected him to be more. I didn't expect him to be more depressed, but I expected maybe more flashbacks or maybe more determination as a result of those deaths. You know what I mean? So that's the only thing that's like the only negative about that. You know, because other than that, Jin Keisuke is absolutely fine. I appreciate him. And then Tachibana is the same. We got to know more about him, obviously about his dream of wanting someone to go to the Grand Prix, and him just being Tachibana. Okay, sometimes he's an elderly, not an elderly man. He's in his 40s, early 40s, late 40s, whatever. He's just a guy having a coffee shop, having some good time. Sometimes he gets converted into an evil guy, but he comes back and he's just there. He's just a nice guy, and that's why I like Tachibana. You don't really need, because he's reliable. Like the girls, Chico and Mako, I'll talk about them quickly. Could care less. If they didn't exist in the show, could care less. They didn't impact the show at all. Okay. Then one of same thing. So I did write about Keisuke's dad, his fiance, and his sister. That's literally why I just talked about Jin Keisuke. Like they didn't really impact Keisuke that much, and that's the only sad thing about the show is that these characters didn't impact. They didn't leave a mark for Keisuke to improve on himself. It was just a moment of him feeling sad, and then Tachibana coming to him and be like, "It'll be okay," and that's it. You know what I mean? Now let's talk about the two commanders. Well, one is actually the commander, but Apollo Geist, the leader of the secret police of God. I loved Apollo Geist. I just love him. I love how big up he was. Okay, he was really full of himself. He was, like, oh darn it, the X Rider has defeated his monster. I'm gonna get you next time. But I really liked about him, especially when he had the motorcycle battles with him. I think it's because there was more interaction with him than King Dark and Keisuke that I appreciated more because there was more rivalry between them two. And especially that moment when Apollo Guys was defeated and he was like, "Let me take this last handshake." And it reminded me a lot of Ambassador Hell because I just love his personality. You had more interactions with the riders, as a result because he was full of himself and he wanted to, defeat the riders. The same thing with Apollo Guys. He wanted to get involved. He wanted to defeat them, and that's why I loved Apollo Guys because of that. King Dark, on the other hand, and as well as basically Doctor Leroy, okay, like most of the like throughout this 10 episode arc of trying to find the RS device blueprints, that's King Dark just looking at the monsters like this and sometimes blinking because obviously he's big. Fine, I get that he can't obviously fight the X Rider all the time because he could, to be honest. Anyway, that besides that, like, you know what I mean, like he could do something, like he could have been made smaller, or I don't know, man. Because of the fact that he didn't have much interaction with Keisuke, it didn't really leave a mark on King Dark. I prefer Apollo Geist. We can live with that. Okay, hi guys. So this is the ending of the video. I'm editing this, so this is New Year's Eve, and I'm just like, I really wanted this video to finish, so let me just say my overall thoughts on X quickly, and hopefully you won't hear my brother next door. So, my thoughts on X are positive. I don't think that the show is bad. I just think that it felt like it needed something, and I think it's probably, as I said before, some of the character interactions. So, the death of Kiriko, Ryoko, and Keisuke's dad kind of didn't impact him as much as I said before, and it didn't really bring out that much in the show, and I think that's what probably was missing. Something else as well. I mean, the whole arc that I just quickly summarized, I really like that. I like the kind of shows where you have a goal, and that is to, in this example, to complete the RS device, on the good or bad side, to get all of the blueprints. So I do like that, okay. But I feel like this show it was missing something, okay. But maybe because I was rewatching it, obviously I was looking through the episodes so that most of my stuff that is correct. Cutting that out. But anyway, it just felt like there was missing something. I feel like on rewatch, I maybe have started to like it more. I don't know, okay? But that's my overall thoughts on X. I think the show is pretty cool. It's definitely different. I mean, it's a different show, and I think you should check it out because at the end of the day, whatever I say about this show doesn't matter because you need to watch the show and make your own judgment, which is why this is not a review. This is a Tokulook. I'm not calling it a retrospective because I can't even say that word these days. Alright, have a good one. Have a good start to 2021. My school is closed for the first week, so I might even review Amazon if I want to. Probably won't. But yeah, have a good one, and I'll see you in 2023.